Our two presenters this morning, one is Tavia Evans, and she lives up in Gainesville, which is off the old former Santa Fe. It's on the BNSF main line, just before you cross the Red River in Oklahoma. You can smell Oklahoma from there. But anyhow, she's been working in North Texas region and been following the development there in Gainesville of BNSF's rail park. And then we've got Brian Siegman, he's the Director of Corporate Strategy and Development for Union Pacific Railroad out of Omaha. And but right now they are developing an intended approximately 2,000 acre rail park down in Rosenberg, which is west of Houston if you're not from down here. And another 1,100 acre industrial park southwest San Antonio. So with that, I'd ask both of them to come on up, have a seat. We'll let Tavia, we'll give about a 8 to 10 minute presentation, PowerPoint, and then Brian will follow up after that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tavia. Thank you all for having me today. I'm excited to talk about Gainesville. I serve as the city designated train liaison for the city of Gainesville, the chief relationship officer for Ripples, it's a nonprofit, and a board member for Friends of the Northern Flyer Alliance. They also serve as a connector between vision and implementation. I do not show up as an activist. I show up as an actionist, and here's the difference. An actionist builds awareness and then a pathway forward. In Gainesville, we say we are not waiting for expansion to happen to us. We are enthusiastically organizing so that expansion can happen through us. Gainesville is ready, and more importantly, we are aligned. The Gainesville Industrial Rail Park is not a concept, it is a signal. It tells investors, operators, and partners that Gainesville is planning for movement. As Gainesville pursues critical upgrades to its existing rail infrastructure, the creation of this new rail park presented an opportunity to transform a historic transportation corridor into a vibrant public space. This almost 500 acre park was made possible through the strategic use of grants, researching current market tax incentives and Chapter 403 incentives for our area, rail sparse accessibility, and by scalable tenancy opportunities. This matters because it unlocks capacity for growth, a visible commitment to rail, and a place where transportation meets the community. Gainesville is uniquely positioned at the intersection of I-35 and 82, with existing rail infrastructure already in place. Infrastructure alone does not define a city, identity does, and that's what Gainesville has done here. Positioned itself as a multimodal hub, a destination, not just a pass through. This is a valuable connector between Fort Worth and Oklahoma City, but also other rural tourism destinations. Gainesville is investing in depot functionality upgrades, connectivity across transit modes, and recreational and community-centered spaces. Economic revitalization is tied to movement of people and of goods. Critically, we are not doing this alone. We are partnering with BNSF to assist with some of the grant opportunities and a shared vision of rail expansion. Now stick with me. The Heartland Flyer isn't just a train. This is an over $20 million economic engine on tracks. Every single departure injects dollars directly into our rural economies. These are going straight into our businesses and transforming downtowns into thriving economic hubs. At a moment when Texas is planning for mobility, capacity, and regional connection, location matters. Gainesville offers proximity without congestion, expansion without displacement, and partnership without friction. We are ready to move and to move fast, and positioned well enough to matter. Gainesville is asking for alignment. And here's exactly how you can help. Hopefully this QR code works for you guys. Or you can just search Ripple's Gainesville Letter of Support. We've made sure that that is accessible through SOA because movement doesn't start with scale, it starts with signal. Sign your name to a letter of support, but here's where I'm going to charge you all. Get 3 other people to sign this letter of support as well. Ask them to do the same. The power that we have in our connectivity today is in our power to align and move together. One signal becomes a ripple becomes a movement, and movement is what builds systems. Gainesville is building the front door to Texas Rail, and we'd like you to help us open it. What's happening in Gainesville right now is bigger than just a project. It's a whole mindset shift. We're building a place where people gather because of rail, where families walk alongside infrastructure, where entrepreneurs build businesses because movement creates opportunity. Gainesville is proof that rail doesn't have to sit behind a fence. It can sit right at the center of your community. And that is what makes this movement different. Because across North Texas, growth is happening fast. In Gainesville, growth is happening intentionally. So I'm not asking you to believe in an idea. We're inviting you to plug into something that is already in motion. And if I'm ready to take, well, I think we could take questions together at the end, or no?
Sure.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about a couple new rail-served logistics parks that Union Pacific is pursuing in the state of Texas. Before we do that, I would like to talk just a little bit about Union Pacific and the importance of Texas, in particular, to the Union Pacific network, as well as some of our evolving views from a real estate development perspective. So when it comes to Texas, Union Pacific is absolutely invested. We operate as an organization over 6,500 miles of track. We have direct economic impact to the state in the form of payroll, in-state purchases, capital investments. As an organization, we employ over 5,500 people in the state and generate over 2 million carloads. From an industrial development perspective, Texas continues to lead the way. Last year, greater than 25% of industrial track projects that occurred on our network occurred in the state of Texas. So incredibly excited about the resiliency and the expected growth that we plan to see in the state going forward. So from a real estate perspective, Union Pacific is one of the larger institutional landowners in the country. We have about 1,500 square miles of property that equates to about 1 million acres. Now, certainly the majority of this property is operating property. It's under rail and terminals, but we have identified a significant amount, greater than 10,000 acres, that has affectionately, some degree of commercial viability that's spread across our network in primary, secondary, and tertiary markets. We think there's an opportunity as an organization for us to think differently about how we're approaching land development and ultimately get to the point where we're not just offering up a piece of dirt to a customer, but we're really offering development-ready properties that can shorten the timeline to delivery for our customers who are looking to grow with Union Pacific. So on the network right now, we've got 6 active projects, 2 in the greater Houston area, San Antonio, Kansas City, Chicago, and the Tacoma area. And we've identified a second round of locations that will hold on the shelf until the timing or the opportunity is right. So let's jump into San Antonio Logistics Park. And before I keep talking, I'd like to share with you our recently released marketing video on the San Antonio site. I think it'll give you a really good overview of the scale and the capabilities that we see at the park. So why San Antonio? You know, from our perspective, I think it comes down to a few just simple things, and that's growth, affordability, and labor. When we look at the greater San Antonio area over the course of the last 10 years, they've experienced a tremendous amount of growth in the form of population, GDP, and labor, and the forecast continues to look strong. There are some outfits suggesting upwards of 1 million more people by 2040. That ultimately means consumer demand, and it ultimately means freight. And from a labor perspective, I will call out, as many of you know, labor availability is often a differentiating factor when it comes to large-scale manufacturing and site selection. Sometimes it's the differentiating factor, and we really like the profile of San Antonio, and in particular, maybe more so South San Antonio, where the site resides. We believe there's a growing and affordable labor force, and the region itself is home to dozens and dozens of colleges, universities, trade, and technical schools that will ultimately function to support large-scale manufacturing and logistics for the years to come. As we take a look at some of the activity in the greater San Antonio area, recent relocations and expansions, on one hand, I think, you know, it's fair to say from a freight perspective, you could say, you know, all growth is good growth. Generally leads to an increase in population, an increase in consumer demand, and ultimately an increase in freight. But when we look at San Antonio, or greater San Antonio specifically, over the course of the last, you know, 4 or 5 years, greater than half of the jobs and capital associated with that growth in San Antonio are in the advanced manufacturing and logistics sectors, which is really encouraging as a railroad when we think about the type of freight that's often generated by those sectors and the capability of that freight to be moved by the railroad. So here's San Antonio, the southwest leg of the Texas Triangle. It sits right in the middle of a roughly 600-mile stretch between Monterey and Dallas. That corridor, the I-35 corridor, is expected to continue to see substantial growth that's driven by an increase in consumer demand, as well as the activities associated with onshoring and nearshoring. Had a really interesting conversation, I guess it's probably been about 1.5 years ago. It was right when we were digging into this San Antonio project. It was with a head of real estate from a large shipping company. And he effectively drew a great big oval around the area from Dallas to Monterey. San Antonio obviously is sitting right there in the middle, and sort of confirmed expectations around growth in this particular corridor as it relates to onshoring and nearshoring. So I think if anything on the onset, it was encouraging to hear some affirmation and confirmation that other groups are thinking about growth along the I-35 corridor and the need for industrial development. The last thing I'll say about San Antonio from a geographic perspective is just calling out its proximity to Laredo, to the border. We think there's an opportunity for the right type of customer to effectively utilize San Antonio as an alternative to Laredo. That customer looks something like someone who needs goods in the United States as a jumping off point, but they have the ability to take those goods off of rubber tire and move it steel wheel over the border to avoid the border crossing at Laredo if you're looking to get out of some congestion. Let's get a little bit more granular here on the San Antonio Logistics Park. You can see the location here. It's immediately adjacent and connected to I-35, that primary corridor, just south of the 410 exchange, offering great local and regional connectivity. The site itself will be served by Union Pacific from a manifest perspective, and it will have private heavy haul road connectivity to the San Antonio Intermodal Terminal. That's an opportunity right there that we think, again, for the right type of customer that can be real value, both from an economic standpoint and from an operational standpoint. So if you think about the opportunity to heavy load containers, move them by rail to the San Antonio Intermodal Terminal, take that container off a train, put it on a chassis, utilize a hostler to get it over to your facility, and really never touch a rubber tire to a public road, there's a real opportunity for the right type of customer to see some value there. Let's talk utilities a little bit. The site is serviced by CPS Energy from an electrical perspective. There's approximately 10 megawatts available now and a pathway to significantly higher levels of power for the right user. 60-inch sewer lines on site already. We're working on the engineering and design for a water loop with San Antonio Water Systems that would go in alongside Project 1 and functionally serve the entire site from a water standpoint. Last thing I'll call out is the entire site is foreign trade zone capable, and we have done some work on the front end to tee that up. We'll likely hold in our current pattern until we identify a user that requires that designation before we move it forward past where it sits today. So here's a look at the site concept itself. All in all, represents about 1,100 acres, 657 acres of developable property. The site is broken up into 3 distinct sections that are all connected. Section 1 and Section 2, the intention is to be direct rail served, while Section 3, non-rail served, but heavy haul connected to UP's San Antonio Intermodal Terminal. On the bottom right of the image, you'll see the connectivity to I-35, as well as Union Pacific's Laredo subdivision, which will be the connection for manifest service. Section 1 represents about 156 acres. That concept's about 1.5 million feet of rail-served vertical development. Immediately to the right there, you'll see a dark area. That's effectively industry track or a common yard that'll be used to service the site. Section 2 at 225 acres, that represents about 2.5 million feet of rail-served development. Section 3 is the largest section on the site at 276 acres. That concept represents about 3.5 million feet of vertical development. You'll notice a road that bisects Section 2 and Section 3. The name of that road is Old Pearsall Road, and that will offer alternative ingress-egress for all sections of the site. The road is a substantial road today, and it offers grade separation over Union Pacific's Del Rio subdivision on the north side of the property. Last thing I'll call out is the hatch mark area that you see on the north side of Section 3. It's actually a designed open drainage channel. The concept there takes water flow from the north, carries it through Section 3, ultimately through Section 2, where it then outfalls into the Medina River. That design is intended to remove the requirement for detention on site. So really great opportunity for users who are looking to maximize their coverage ratio and ultimately not need to buy property that they don't need for their development that they're going to cover up with detention. So all in all, the site represents about 7 million feet of vertical development. We've been very encouraged by the interest and engagement to date, and we're really excited to see this one take off. All right, let's jump into Greater Houston, Fort Bend County, Rosenberg. What you're looking at here is Mainline Texas Industrial Park. This is a roughly 2,000 acre master planned rail served industrial park, rail served by Union Pacific off our Glidden subdivision. The rail connectivity is designed to support both unit train and manifest service. Ingress egress to the site is really solid. We've got grade separated access on spur 10 on the west side of the property. And we're really at a position right now where we've spent roughly the last year on engineering and design concepts where we're starting to see the key elements of the park firm up, and very shortly we'll be in a position where we're able to execute on deals anywhere from 5 acres to 1,000 plus acres. So why Houston? Why Fort Bend County? Why Rosenberg? I think the Houston market really speaks for itself. You know, you've got significant growth in Houston. You've got a strong and diverse industrial and logistics base. And you've got access to talent of all kinds, a tremendous workforce in the greater Houston area that spans the gamut between blue collar and white collar, really anything that you need. When we think about growth in Houston in particular, I've had my own experience with Houston. I lived there for about 5 years from 2014 through 2018 and witnessed resiliency in a whole host of markets, whether it be petrochemicals, resin, steel, construction materials, consumables. And as an organization, Union Pacific is very fortunate to have invested as heavily as it has over years and years in the greater Houston complex, and it's put us in a position to effectively grow with our customers in this area. So if you step outside of just the Houston Metroplex itself and you look at Fort Bend County has experienced a tremendous amount of growth, roughly 40% from 2010 to 2020. Those trends are continuing. And when we stack up those simple concepts of growth, affordability, and labor, we really believe that this location is going to be in a position to compete for the years to come. So I'll be brief on this one. I think everybody knows where Houston is. The one thing I'll call out is access to 25 million consumers within a 250-mile radius. And then when we tie in the proximity to Port Houston, to Freeport, and then the interconnectivity of rail and road, we really believe that this site's going to be in a great position to compete. As we look at ingress, egress, and regional access, the site itself is in a very strong position. You can see direct access to State Highway 36 on the north side of the property, grade separated access via Spur 10 on the west side of the property. And then we think about regional connectivity. You can go east on 69 to Houston, southwest on 59 to Corpus and Laredo, west on 90 to San Antonio. It offers a lot of functionality for a site of this size to accommodate, effectively thousands of employees and thousands of trucks for your over-the-road operations. Whoops. There we go. From a labor standpoint, roughly 1.3 million workers within a 30-mile radius. That same radius provides access to about 3 million consumers. We talked a little bit about growth in Fort Bend County. Fort Bend County has experienced a tremendous amount of growth on the residential front. Those trends are continuing. There's actually been a lot of noise lately with large-scale residential developers who have been in and around, not in, but around the site here at Rosenberg. We're expecting that to continue to drive population, continue to drive consumer demand, and ultimately we believe that this property in particular is in an excellent position to help create and support what will be a needed industrial base in the area. All right, let's look at the site plan here. Again, roughly 2,000 acres. We're expecting roughly 700 acres of non-rail served development and 1,300 acres of rail served development. We're starting to see some core elements shape up in the park. If you look at the primary spine road and the drainage channel that runs east to west and bisects the property on the northern third, and then you can see the common rail infrastructure or industry track on the south boundary of the property adjacent to UP's Glidden sub that will effectively service the site from a rail standpoint. Just to give you some scale here, that center tract south of the drainage channel, north of the rail infrastructure is about 500 acres. The northwest portion is about 400 acres. And then that eastern portion is also about 400 acres. That's east of a road called Cecil Rabinowitz Road. We think that portion on the east side of the property is really shaping up to be a logical phase one that will allow us to execute on both rail-served and non-rail served opportunities. So all in all, the site plan contemplates roughly 20 million feet of vertical development. We've been very encouraged by the engagement. We're encouraged by the market fundamentals and the growth that's occurring on the southwest side of Houston. And we're really excited to continue down the path on this one and build this out for Greater Houston.
I have a question regarding timeline and procurement model. For both Houston and for San Antonio, what's the timeline you're looking at, and then what's the procurement model that you're currently working through?
Is it working? There we go. From a timeline perspective, San Antonio's ready to go. We've been working there for probably the last 2 years from an engineering and design perspective and are fully marketing the site. Encouraged by the level of engagement that's coming both from the local brokerage community, but also the engagement that we're getting for large-scale RFIs at the state and regional level. I can say, going from 2 years ago, where we were originally attempting to engage on large-scale opportunities, often not getting that second round or that callback, and we've seen that change significantly to where we've had quite a few groups on site with second-level interest, third-level interest, and we feel like it's only a matter of time before the opportunity presents itself that makes sense at this location. I don't know if the market is quite ready on the southwest side for speculative development, so we're probably in the position where we're going to market until we find the right opportunity to get the doors open.
Okay.
So, and I guess I'll answer for Rosenberg as well. We started Rosenberg, that effort, probably about a year ago with a lead civil engineer and a team that we've built around that project. So it's not quite as far along as San Antonio, but it's really close to being there. And we're in the position, and we've got some interest, and we're excited to see that one continue to move forward.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bruce Ashton from San Antonio, and I'm really excited about both the expansions that we're talking about here. My question deals with the San Antonio, I guess, and overall is you're building for the future development and expansion. What implication does that have for track capacity in the regions? And last but not least, I would love to have a tour. Thank you.
Well, we can certainly work on the tour. I think Eric yesterday covered it to a large degree. What Union Pacific has done operationally over the last several years to lengthen trains, take the number of trains off our network, and create capacity. So from a capacity standpoint, we're in a very good position. I think that the expected industrial growth. One thing I will say, just this conversation in general, and then there was some more conversation yesterday about the trend in rail-served industrial parks across the country, and in particular in the state of Texas, is just very encouraging to see. For anybody that's done it, understands that it's expensive. It's time. It takes a ton of time. Most developers would just rather go put their money into a non-rail served park and not have to deal with it. So it's just super encouraging to see all of the growth and the focus on rail served industrial parks in general, because it's just a great opportunity for Texas and for the country as a whole.
I have a question, is that of all the projects that the two railroads are looking at, and I'm not sure if you can actually answer, Tavia, for the BNSF in your experience, but how many of these projects are you looking at that are repurposing former rail yards and such, so you don't really have to go out and start greenfield and through the process, but you can actually expedite your own project by working on your own property? There.
Well, for Gainesville, this rail park wasn't acquired and transformed. This was built, and it is shovel ready. But the question for me was it an interest of BNSF? Please repeat that.
It is repurposing existing rail yards. What's in my mind is like Moore, Oklahoma, where they took an entire yard and refashioned it and repurposed it to one of these facilities. Well, Union Pacific, I don't know how many acres or square miles of yards they got just in the Houston area, but how much, I know that Rosenberg, that's a greenfield situation, but of other projects they're looking at across the system, how many may be repurposing yards. So, you don't have the neighborhood complaining about, oh, the railroad's expanding, more noise, more pollution, whatever, NIMBYs.
Yeah, we've been fortunate at these two projects in particular to have really strong local support, which has been great. I agree with you. I think there will be opportunities to look at those things if at any point assets are consolidated. Certainly if the infrastructure is already there to support development at a location and we can identify an opportunity to do it, that would make certainly a lot of sense.
I thought you were. Anybody else in the crowd have any more questions for them? If not, you're coming up. All right, here's got one come run up the racetrack.
Just for Tavia, are you getting good support from your local officials, elected-wise, on your projects?
Yes, so that's what I think does set Gainesville apart a bit in this, is that we have alignment across civic leaders, business leaders, and investors. So everyone in the community has been super excited about this project as well. And yeah, so everyone being in alignment on this is I think what makes this stand aside.
Good, I appreciate your energy and optimism on that. Thanks.
Going once, going twice. We appreciate your participation and your statements this morning.
Thank you.
And y'all be available if anybody wants to get a hold of you, right? You'll be here for the rest of the morning.
That's $25 right there.
That's a good call.
Peter, get them.